If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe. And what they're conveying, that Judaism has been done away with.
You are live. Go ahead and tell us what your question is.
Hi. My question is, when Christian kids are 11, 12 years old, they go through a process called confirmation at the church, which would be the equivalent of a bar bas mitzvah for Jewish children. In that, they teach them about the New Testament. And my question is, why do they not teach? They teach that there's an Old Testament. First of all, why don't they call it the 5 books of Moses or the Torah? And then when they teach the kids, this is the New Testament, why do they not say, this is the New Testament, which includes the Torah? Like, why do they not, they say they include the 5 books of Moses, but they go as far as to not even call it the Torah. They have to call it the Old Testament. And why not say that the New Testament is the 5 books of Moses, and P.S., this is what the Jews believe?
Christians would have no problem referring to the Pentateuch, the Torah, as the 5 books of Moses. But they use the term Old Testament a lot. And most of them do not realize how incredibly offensive that is to Jewish people. That's the truth. If you ever watch a Jew and a Christian just having a conversation, and the Christian refers to Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, as the Old Testament, Jews who have any sensitivity at all, have any knowledge at all, just cringe and they bristle at it. They probably will not make a comment because there are other issues to argue about. But the idea that referring to Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, as the Old Testament is so incredibly offensive. Because what is being conveyed is that what is old waxes away and disappears. Now, if you think that I'm sort of maybe mischaracterizing what Christians believe because I have an unflattering view of core Christian tenets, you're making a mistake. This comes directly out of the book of Hebrews. Hebrews wildly misquotes Jeremiah 31. Wow, that one chapter has led so many people astray. But then again, all of the book of Hebrews, all 13 chapters, is an apologetic, is an argument against Judaism. That's the whole book of Hebrews. Despite its name, it has like a friendly name, Hebrews. But it is an attack on Judaism. Remember, was written while the Second Temple was still standing. The book of Hebrews probably written in 64, so there was a Beis HaMikdash going on. And the book of Hebrews is going to argue why Jesus is our true high priest, and he is above the angels and above Moses and Joshua and above all. Above Judaism. That's what's very important. It's not anti-Semitic in the sense that you think of it. But Hebrews 8 in verse 9 is going to misquote Jeremiah 31, convey that God has done away with the covenant that he has made with the Jewish people, misquote the passage in Jeremiah 31 where it says, Va'anochi ba'alti bam, I was a husband to them, and translated as I rejected them. I'm not kidding. This will break your soul. But if you open up Jeremiah 30, depends which Bible you open. If it's a Jewish Bible or Christian Bible, it's verse 30, 31. And it says that I was their husband. Va'anochi ba'alti bam. Baal is a husband. I was their husband. And Hebrews 8, verse 9, translated, I rejected them. I disregarded them. Exactly the opposite. Talking about the Jews. It's mind-blowing. And of course, the church doctors would doctor this text in the Septuagint so that the Septuagint would agree with the reading of Hebrews. So this is so crazy. If you can just triangulate this, if you go to a King James, doesn't matter. In Jeremiah 31, it says, I was a husband to them or a master over them. V'noichi ba'alti bom. That word Baal can mean a husband or can mean a master. In fact, the only other time that word Baalti exists in Tanakh, in that exact iteration, in that exact formation. Now, if the root is all over Tanakh, but that exact, with the same exact construct, only appears one other time in Tanakh, and that's in Jeremiah, I think 3 verse 14. And there they translate correctly. The Septuagint, the doctors of the church, altered the Septuagint to comport with Hebrews. But the King James doesn't go with it. I hope that wasn't too complicated. The point is that Hebrews continues, the author, we don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews, but whoever wrote it, that's how he ends. Look at chapter 8, verse 13. He that maketh that which is old, look at how it ends. By calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete, and whatever is obsolete it becomes outdated and will disappear. So when Christians use the word Old Testament, this is the shayrish, this is really the source of it. And what they're conveying is that the law has been done away with, that Judaism has been done away with. Now, very important, they do not mean that the record of creation, the events, the history found in the 5 books of Moses, they believe all of that. They mean this in an antinomian sense. That means they oppose the rituals that are found in the Hebrew Bible. And the book of Hebrews is in the next 2 chapters going to continue this theme where God doesn't even want the animal sacrificial system. In fact, how could the blood of bulls and goats even atone for sin? And Jesus is our sacrifice, and there is no longer a sacrificial system. Remember, Hebrews is written while there was competition. This is a very critical point without which you can't understand the force of the author. The author knows what's going on in Jerusalem, and he's saying, forget Jerusalem. Jesus provided a body for us. I'm not kidding. Hebrews 10:5, misquoting Psalm chapter 40. And in verse 18, the Hebrews literally says that there's no longer a sacrificial system. It's God did away with it completely. Of course, they cannot answer the problems. How come in the Messianic age in Tanakh there will be a sacrificial system? So in sum, all Christians refer to the Hebrew Bible as the Old Testament. Whenever you think after all these years I would be so acclimated to that I would. It's like offensive, but I don't say anything. I don't say anything because I don't want to get into it over that. But that's what is meant. Roman Catholics are not big Bible studiers. Doesn't mean that there aren't Roman Catholics who become scholars and study, but the average Roman Catholic doesn't study the Bible very much. Their service is highly liturgical, so they read whatever the priest tells them to read from. And Protestants think that they're reading the Bible, but they're not reading the original Hebrew, and it's all a big problem. So that's what they mean. They use the word Old Testament. It does not mean they would not use the word Torah. They would not. Not in a typical conventional conversation. It doesn't mean they would have a problem with it. They just wouldn't. They would use the term Pentateuch to identify the 5 books of Moses as opposed to other books in the Old Testament. And that's what's so incredibly offensive. So the book of Hebrews is what spawned that opposition to Tanakh. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא